let's talk about the real pros and cons of prenups.
All right, now most of us have heard the song Gold Digger by Kanye West. And we know that line when he yells, "We won't prenup, we won't prenup." Now he's of course talking about a prenuptial agreement where you basically agree to not touch each other's money if you ever get divorced. How would you react if you were asked to sign a prenup?
When it comes,
I can jump in and tell you a lot of future spouses are not going to be happy about that, but let's see what the rest of the crew says.
comes to prenups, I'm old school. I think if I'm going to trust you and marry you, therefore I do not want to sign a prenup. I think that if I'm going to marry you, I trust you enough that if things don't work out, that you will be fair. I think that signing a prenup plants a seed of doubt, and it gives you an out, and it makes it okay if it doesn't work out.
And I actually agree with everything she says. It plants a seed of doubt, but I don't know that anybody enters into a marriage without some seeds of doubt. But I think if you are going to get married, you may want to go all in. Now that being said, you may want to still protect your assets.
And honestly, I think that marriage is a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment that you are making. I understand, obviously, some divorces, it just doesn't work out that easily.
Over half.
But for me personally, I think once you say I do, then you do. And if someone asked me to sign a prenup, I don't think I'd go through with the marriage. I really don't.
I think it is a complete mistake not to sign a prenup. It is a complete mistake, and here's why.
And I would say I think it depends on your unique circumstances. In some cases, if you're older, you both have assets, you both have children of your own, it probably makes sense to think through who's going to get what in the event the marriage does not work out. But if you're younger and don't have many assets, you may not need one anyways. But let's keep watching.
And those of you out there who have been married before, then you know that the person you marry is not the person that you divorce, right?
But the person you divorce is often the person who you have molded. So I kind of believe that karma is a real thing.
Right? And it's all fine and good when you're preparing a marriage. And when things go bad, I feel like as women, we should be powerful, and we should be in charge and in control of our futures. And I also think that people think that prenups are only about money. But I have lots of clients that have signed prenups. For example, a recent client of mine signed a prenup. The only thing she wanted in the prenup is she said, if we divorce, you cannot take my kids. And it was really clear up front.
Well, a prenuptial agreement generally will cover financial matters. It can address issues with the children. The court is going to take a lot more discretion of their own in terms of what's best for the children. If you want to do something wacky with your money, but you've agreed to that, the courts generally say, okay, you do what you want with your money. But in terms of caring for a child, what's in the best interest of a child, the so-called family law standard, whether that's really the standard is a whole other question. I really believe that most family law is based on what's best for the attorneys fighting over the divorce. But putting something in there about your children, it's not a bad idea, but the court is really going to most likely do what the court thinks is best, not so much what's in the prenup.
Because we all know sometimes you want something, right, and then you are left holding the bag.
So the thing that I like actually about prenups is, as you said, a lot of couples, over 50%, are getting divorced these days. One of the main reasons for divorce is financial issues. And so it brings up the financial conversation prior to getting married. A lot of times people don't realize where people are financially until after they get married. They don't realize how much debt someone's in, or how many properties they might have, or where money might be stashed. It's a good conversation to start prior to getting married so that you know what you're getting into.
Is there
Yes, transparency before entering into a marriage is a good idea.
certain economic level to participate in a
Before
prenup?
they-
Or is it just for everybody?
No.
I had nothing to prenup before. If you leave me, you gonna get half. We ain't got nothing. So if we leave you, I'm gonna take 80%. We have nothing. When I married Marjorie, I had something, but we didn't do a prenup because I knew this is the chick I'm going to the tape with.
But you know, I think that is admirable. However, I just don't think that most men think like you.
I got you.
don't think most people think like you, and I think it's important.
But that's why you can't go marry most men. I dated
Right.
most men.
Right.
I dated them all. And I knew when I was dating them that they were the type of person to not be fair at the end. That's why I did not marry them. I married my husband, who I knew no matter what, at the end of the day, it did not matter what happened between us and what beef we had at the end of the day, he was going to be fair. And one of the reasons why I married him.
Marriage is the most important decision you make in your life. And if you're dealing with somebody who is fair in how they do everything, they're going to be fair in how they end the relationship. And if you marry somebody who's not fair, having a prenup is really not going to necessarily do you much good anyways.
Is because I knew when we had kids, unlike my circumstance, that not only was he going to be fair with me, but if something did happen between us, he was going to be there for my daughter no matter what. He would have never abandoned me, and he would never abandon my.
So in short, a prenup is appropriate in some situations. However, when you bring up the idea of a prenup, you may upset your future spouse. And if you do want to protect your assets without needing to get your spouse or future spouse's consent, you can do that by setting up an offshore asset protection trust.